Jacksonites, and welcome to the of today. Today, I will be discussing two of my favorite Godzilla movies of the entire series, unlike the last movie. And joining me today is Shawnee Boy from JT is Reborn.
That's right. I was originally like if I was going to make it or not, but I'm like, you know what? I canceled the other plans, and I decided, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to get through the entire Millennium series with Nick. So, yeah.
And today, I will be discussing Godzilla X Mechagodzilla and Godzilla Tokyo. They involve the same two monsters, and they're I have the same similar pros and cons for both, and they have the same ratings. So I figure, what the fuck, I may as well get it done in one video.
I'm going to be honest. I'm kind of the same way with you. I think I like Against Mechagodzilla just slightly more because it's like we follow like the one particular character as opposed to like several, and she kind of gets.
I agree, but movie. Still, these two movies are pretty neck and neck.
Yeah, the action scenes I love.
So my history with these movies is actually a little interesting because the first one that I saw was Tokyo SOS. I rented this from Netflix and I watched it tons of times. But after I rented it that one time, I never really got it again for some reason because there was other Godzilla movies that I was interested in, and this at the time this one didn't really leave a huge impact on me, even though I still did like the film. And it wasn't until when me, my mom, and stepdad moved into the place that they currently live at when I realized, you know what? I don't own any Godzilla movies from the Millennium series. So I decided to buy 2000 and Final Wars. But I didn't get Tokyo SOS. I wanted to, but I didn't. And actually, Tokyo SOS and Against Mechagodzilla were the two last of the Millennium series that, well, not counting Shin Gojira, were the last of the Millennium series that I ever bought. And speaking of which, Against Mechagodzilla, actually the first time I saw this movie was on Crackle.com. Back when Crackle.com had kaiju movies, or some kaiju movies in their roster.
I may have seen the first one there too.
Huh?
I may have seen the first on Crackle. I can't remember. I honestly can't remember the first time I saw these two movies.
So yeah, the first time I saw this movie was on Crackle, and I remember really liking it. I thought it was, I mean, at first it didn't really blow me away, but I enjoyed the movie. And then I got the two films on DVD, and I watched them back to back, and I remember liking both pretty much the same. Both entertained me, both really just rocked my world. I liked them. So Shawnee Boy, what's your history with these movies?
You know what? I can't remember the first time I saw these. I don't remember if I rented them on DVD, watched them on Crackle, or if it was on the Sci-Fi Channel. I think maybe I saw clips of it on the Sci-Fi Channel. Then I watched them on Crackle. Like at least I remember like Against Mechagodzilla or Tokyo SOS. And I did eventually buy the DVDs. So it was something along. It was one of those three things. But like I just remember watching them. I liked them. Definitely better than 2000 and Mechagodzilla. It's not as much as I like GMK, obviously. Go ahead and roll your eyes at me. I know that's what you like to do when I have a differing opinion than you. But yeah, these two, like, they're pretty much, I saw them around the same time. So I did like I said, I like Against Mechagodzilla slightly more than Tokyo SOS. But I still like Tokyo SOS. I think these are both pretty solid. The Godzilla suit, it's a little updated from like the first two films in the Millennium series, and it looks a little better. Like the jaw and that is slightly different. It doesn't have like the pure facelift. Although I still prefer like the previous suit and then like the later suit after this, which was in Final Wars. But it was nice to get a film that like spawned a direct sequel. It was like a 2-part movie, and then there's some really cool action sequences with Kiryu or Mechagodzilla 3, as he's known.
Tinfoil. What?
Godzilla vs. Godzilla covered in tinfoil. Yeah.
So we're gonna get through the. Kind of like with 2000 and Mechagodzilla, so we're going to get through both of the plots first. So the plot of Against Mechagodzilla, I'm going to be kind of like the last one. I'm going to take over for most of it because he hasn't seen him in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I still remember certain things. The main actress is really hot, so I remember that.
We'll get to that later. In 1999, 45 years after Godzilla's first attack in 1954, doing this again, Akane Yashido, who was a lieutenant in the military, who was also a maser cannon technician.
It's against Nick. You see that? You screwed up the title, of course.
KPF, it says that for reasons. Anyway, so she is a maser cannon technician. She and her team of maser cannon operators are unable to kill a new member of Godzilla's species during her first fight against him. And she is made a scapegoat for the military's losses during the fight, which involves in her entire team being obliterated by Godzilla. One of which really sticks with her because she's semi-responsible for the thing falling off a cliff. It was a vehicle that the guy was in. You were born in 2002? Really? Go figure. Anyway, so the vehicle that this dude was in, she knocks the vehicle off a cliff and it rolls down and Godzilla steps on it, obviously killing both members inside. So that really sticks with her. It kind of brings to mind Mechagodzilla, which could potentially be one minor flaw with this movie, but I'll get to that in just a minute. And they also discovered that during this fight, Godzilla is immune to maser fire. Obviously, he's stunned by it, but it does nothing to breach his hide.
Mm-hmm. And what I liked about that whole maser fire thing is they tied it into War of the Gargantuas.
We'll get to that in just a minute.
Okay.
And essentially, this renders all of the Japanese military useless against Godzilla should he possibly return. So a bunch of scientists, including a single father named Tokimitsu Yuhara, are gathered to build a biomechanical robot from the original Godzilla skeleton. And then, of course, Mechagodzilla, named Kuryu, which means metal dragon in Japanese, is finished and is inducted into JSDF along with its human pilots as the Kuryu Squadron. Akane becomes the main pilot for Kuryu. However, memories of Akane's actions during the original fight against Godzilla do still linger, as one of her squadron mates, who is Second Lieutenant Susumu Hayama, holds her responsible for the death of his brother. He was one of the men who was crushed to death under Godzilla's foot. So 4 years later, in 2003, Mechagodzilla is shown to the world in a really big demonstration video to show Mechagodzilla exactly what he is capable of. Controlled remotely from a what looks like a very large jet fighter with V-stall capabilities. It can be remotely recharged from the ground using microwave transmissions that are relayed through a power system on one of these commanding aircrafts and then beamed back down to the robot. And at the end of this demonstration video, its greatest and most powerful weapon shown being the Absolute Zero cannon, which is essentially a cannon in Mechagodzilla's chest that fires a massive sphere of freezing energy, rendering anything frozen in seconds, and then disintegrates into a pile of ice. It's a pretty cool attack, if you ask me.
Freeze this ice gun.
Really?
Too loud.
You're not sending me to the cooler. You'll take Godzilla to an icy graveyard.
It was up forever in Gotham. I love Batman and Robin. I know it's so dumb, but I love
it too. I think it's hilarious.
It's great. But yeah, back to Godzilla.
So anyway, after this demonstration is done, none other than Godzilla shows up once again, in a pretty awesome scene. He erupts from the ocean. Michiro Oshima's music plays once again, and then Godzilla roars as if saying, "I'm back, bitches." So Kiryu or Mechagodzilla is launched into battle. However, in the midst of this first fight, Mechagodzilla's soul is awoken by Godzilla's roar, and it gets a massive flashback to the original Godzilla's death. Godzilla then returns to the ocean as Mechagodzilla stands there, motionless, but then it fires its laser cannons up towards one of the fighter jets, and as if possessed by the original Godzilla, Mechagodzilla goes on a rampage to destroy the city, and the Kiryu Squadron can pretty much do nothing except watch as Mechagodzilla rampages throughout the city and causes more property damage than even Godzilla did. However, after 1 hour, Mechagodzilla runs out of energy and is brought back to headquarters to try to fix the problem. And all the while, Akane attempts to settle matters involving Hayama, Tokumitsu, and his distressed daughter, Sarah, who sees Mechagodzilla as a being with some right to live a life and believes that it should befriend Godzilla rather than do battle with it.
They can be bros.
Yeah.
I want to see them just hanging out, be like, "You can tell me about my best friend. He's a warm-hearted person who loves to the end."
Shit. So anyway, later Godzilla attacks once again, and after repairs are made, Mechagodzilla is released from the air, and it makes its entrance by ramming into Godzilla as Godzilla is about to destroy a hospital. And at this point, Godzilla and Mechagodzilla have a really entertaining fight, which they're pretty evenly matched, and they're able to exchange blows for quite a while. However, Mechagodzilla gains the upper hand as he seems to be a bit more agile than Godzilla somehow, and beats down Godzilla momentarily. Mechagodzilla then tries to launch the Absolute Zero cannon. However, Godzilla reacts quickly and fires his atomic ray. And during this, Mechagodzilla is disabled, and the remote piloting system is taken completely offline. And in an effort to continue the fight and press some kind of advantage that they have over Godzilla, Akane orders the pilot to land his command craft so that she can make her way to Mechagodzilla and take control from its internal backup cockpit. And now, under direct control, Mechagodzilla rises from the ground and closes in on Godzilla for a final blow, hoping to use the Absolute Zero cannon at point-blank range. So Mechagodzilla flies towards Godzilla, grabs hold of him, and flies him out to the ocean while keeping his jaws shut to keep him from firing his atomic ray. So they land into the ocean, and the Absolute Zero cannon goes off, leaving a massive splash of water to erupt from the ocean, but then it freezes solid, and then it shatters, and it
was a cool ending.
Huh?
I said it's a cool shot,
Yeah. And then it collapses upon the ocean. So after the blast clears, Godzilla shows up and is shown to still be alive. However, he has a massive hole in his chest from where Mechagodzilla shot him. And he steadily walks back into the ocean, and Mechagodzilla shows up as well, heavily damaged, missing its right arm. And the Absolute Zero cannon being completely destroyed beyond repair. So with the Kiryu Squadron successful in defeating Godzilla, Godzilla retreats, thus ending the movie, leading into the sequel. And that sequel, of course, being Godzilla Tokyo SOS. So it takes place about a year later after the previous movie, and Mechagodzilla is undergoing massive repair modifications after its fight with Godzilla. Prime Minister Hayato Igarashi accepts lead scientist Yoshito Chujo's choice to replace the Absolute Zero cannon with essentially a superpowered maser cannon in its chest called the Tri-Maser. The Shobijin, who are Mothra's twin fairies, warned the Japanese government that Godzilla continues to return to Japan because they used the original Godzilla's bones in Mechagodzilla. And if they returned the bones to the bottom of the ocean, Mothra would gladly take Mechagodzilla's place in defending Japan. However, if they don't, Mothra will declare war on humanity.
What does Mothra care about Godzilla having like his bones removed? Like, what
I don't know. Soon enough, a giant Mata Mata turtle, Kamibus, Dan, I hope you're watching this, is found washed ashore on a Japanese beach, dead, having massive claw marks in its neck, and they are determined that they determined that Kameba was killed by Godzilla.
Why we never saw this? I don't fucking know.
Actually, a little bit of trivia: it was originally supposed to be Anguirus. However, Toho decided, nah, that pissed off a lot of fans if we did that. Rightfully so.
Why is the show fighting?
So Godzilla makes landfall in Japan and engages with a really long fight with Mothra. However, Godzilla gains the upper hand rather quickly, and with the repairs finished just in time, Mechagodzilla shows up and evens the odds against Godzilla, but Godzilla still manages to knock both Mechagodzilla and Mothra down, actually killing Mothra. Meanwhile, on Infant Island, the Mothra larvae, twins, hatch from Mothra's egg. Haven't seen twins since 1964. And they rush to help their mother. And as Kiryu undergoes minor repairs once again, the larvae try to hold off Godzilla. However, Mothra sacrifices herself by flying in the way of Godzilla's atomic ray and saves her kids.
Because you can never have Mothra and her kids. Never. Like,
nope.
Mothra immediately dies.
Yep. And just in time, Yoshito and the humans repair Kiryu, who repair Mechagodzilla, and he re-enters the fight and beats the shit out of Godzilla and stabs Godzilla in the chest with a drill hand, which causes Godzilla to bleed and roar in pain. The larvae begin to... Huh?
I said, tell me, Godzilla, do you bleed?
The larvae begin to bind Godzilla up in their silk, and just as Kiryu's Mechagodzilla's pilot, Azusa Kisaragi, receives the order by Igarashi to destroy Godzilla before the Mechagodzilla project is scrapped, Mechagodzilla's soul is once again reawakened through Godzilla's roar, and the cyborg lifts Godzilla and secures its grip with cables, and then flies off and flies both him and Godzilla to the bottom of the ocean. However, thus ending the movie, in a post-credit scene at an undisclosed location, a laboratory is shown filled with canisters that contain the DNA of numerous Toho kaiju. And it is stated in the Japanese version that via a narrator announcing that a bioformation experiment involving an extinct subject, quote-unquote, is about to take place, implying that the JSDF plans to create another mecha or kaiju-based superweapon, which could mean that Godzilla or another monster could reappear again. And in the Japanese version, Godzilla and Mechagodzilla are seen one more time, roaring as they descend into the ocean.
Yeah, like the final shot there, when they have over the credits and them roaring together, it kind of reminds me of the end credits of like a Bond movie or something.
So, and Jack, I'll answer that question in just a few minutes. So how about these plots? Well, both are pretty simple. They just happen to have a lot going on in them, especially with Tokyo SOS. But both plots, they're very well constructed, and they actually do function pretty well as distant sequels. And what I mean by that is apparently, well, that's one of my pros with Mechagodzilla, is that this movie has some pretty interesting continuity nods. But I'll get to that in just a few minutes. Gotta get my... So what are your pros and cons of... Well, no, let's start with the pros for both of these movies.
Okay,
Shiny boy.
so let's go for pros in Godzilla against Mechagodzilla first. I do like the lead actress. I mean, you know, she's really hot. Okay, I mean, is that wrong to say that? I mean, she's just,
Not at all.
I mean, damn, she's fine. And like her backstory is pretty interesting because she feels guilty for like people passing on under her command because she's like obviously the major cannon that just didn't do its job against Godzilla. It worked against the Gargantuas somewhat, not altogether. There was the molten volcano which ultimately took them out. But obviously she feels guilty. Like there's a more personal connection between her and Godzilla, and I thought that was cool. Kiryu, the design of him looks great. I think it's an improvement over the Heisei design. It's kind of like it's like if you perform the fusion technique between the Heisei and like the original Showa design, you get a nice balance between both of them. This may, like, I used to think like original Showa is like my favorite, but then like I'd say like this one's like really close. Sometimes I like this one better, but I think this is a great redesign. The action sequences are good. The fight scenes between Godzilla and Kiryu. Some of the model work, like I appreciate good model work, but it's like compared to the last one, I thought it did a better job of blending like real life locations as opposed to just using like straight up models like this one does. The musical score is once again like really great, and this movie sets itself up for like an interesting follow up, which is like this is a good two-parter. I feel like, but like it doesn't. The ending isn't fully complete, but it's like they have a slight victory. Godzilla's just like, you know what? I'm going to kind of leave. So I appreciate those.
All right, guys, you win. I'll be back.
What?
Godzilla at the end of this movie is just like, all right, guys, you win. I'll be back.
Yeah, I'll be back. I'll be back. So yeah, those are some of my pros of the movie.
Anything else you want to say?
Like I said, it's been at least a year or two since I've seen these two movies. So I was going to rewatch it, but you were like, I'll get the videos done. So I'm like, all right, because I have the movies with me to rewatch, and I'm like, you know what? I'll just go ahead and I want to get on this. I got to get on this video, and I'm like, let's go. So, yep. I think that's all the pros I really have to say.
What about Tokyo SOS?
Oh, Tokyo SOS?
Pretty much the same?
Yeah, pretty much the same. The human characters, I like the lead actress better in against Mechagodzilla than I do Tokyo SOS.
She's just kind of, I don't know if she's played by the same actress, but it is the same character. One. It is?
Yeah, she's played by Yumiko Shaki, which she's Google her right now, you get some interesting photos. She's
shoved to the side in Tokyo SOS, which is one minor issue that I have with Tokyo SOS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they set her up like, oh man, everything's been set up in, part one, ready for a good follow-up in part two, which, they did follow up on it. They did get a good part two, something that I was kind of disappointed that GMK didn't get, but, they get Mechagodzilla two-parter. Go figure. So, but yeah, like, I'll say, like, why don't we just get into, like, the pros? They're pretty much the same thing, some good action sequences. I like how there's several films, like, linked in terms of the continuity between this and that. Kiryu, like, I like the scenes where Kiryu goes and, like, Cannon starts rampaging over everything. I do appreciate the ending, how it kind of builds itself up for another follow-up, but unfortunately we never got it. But we did get a good follow-up in a way with Final Wars, even though it's not in this continuity. I don't know, like, the Millennium Series continuity is all over the place, and I really appreciated how they brought back one of the actors from the show era in this film.
Yoshio Tsuchiya.
Yep, Kuroshio. And because he was in the original Mothra, and then he was in Godzilla vs. Mothra, and then he was in,
well, he was in Mothra vs. Godzilla, but it wasn't the same character.
Correct. Go figure. Because I'm like, that would have been interesting to have the same, continuity. But whatever. Yeah, those are the positives with that one. Good action, good musical score. Like each one is like, that's cool. Special effects are pretty decent. Obviously, there's a lot more. You obviously notice the models a lot more in this one than you did in, like, say, GMK. Because GMK, they were trying to blend the models more and, like, kind of match it up with this one. This one, they're just like, screw it. We're just going straight up models for all the action sequences in that. And I appreciate that. That's, it's nice. This feels like the last like, throwback Godzilla movie before they really started to push towards, the more, like, modern Godzillas.
Yep.
So. It feels like the last of its kind, I should say. Because Final Wars just goes full-blown, all crazy. I mean, there's definitely some model work in that one, but really, this and Final Wars were kind of the end of that era of Godzilla movies.
Yeah. So my pros for Mechagodzilla 3, the monster action is really, really freaking cool. Even though Godzilla has, well, he shows up at the beginning, then in the middle, and then in the end. So he shows up once in each act of the film. His entrance is pretty entertaining. His first fight with Mechagodzilla, even though it's a little short, it's still pretty entertaining. And the last act of the movie is just nothing but action. And oh my god, is it so fucking entertaining! It's really cool to see Mechagodzilla and Godzilla just go ham on each other. It's a good mix of beam spamming and hand to hand combat.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You wouldn't have been able to pull this off if both monsters were gigantic, and well, they are, but like Heisei levels of big, because once again they reduce their sizes in this movie. Godzilla in this movie is 55 meters tall again, and Mechagodzilla is 60 meters in height. So it's much more evenly balanced in terms of beam spamming and hand-to-hand combat. So it's really cool to see. So the monster. Oh, and also it's really cool to see both monsters use clever tactics against each other. But I'll get to that when I talk about the monsters. But the monster fights, they're so awesome. They are so awesome. Pro number 2 is that the special effects, once again, they're pretty damn solid. There is some shitty CG used in this movie. However, I think this is the last movie where the CG is legitimately bad.
Well, there's some bad stuff in Final Wars, like the Manda.
Yes and no. I'll get to that later. Overall, I really like the special effects. The Godzilla suit and the Mechagodzilla suits look flawless. There's no issues with the suits whatsoever. You don't see any zippers or seams or pieces that are falling off. I really like this Godzilla design. It's very similar to the Millennium Goji Godzilla suit, though they changed his skin color to gray or charcoal gray once again. His spines are similarly shaped, but they're not as craggy and they're not as large. And they changed Godzilla's face around. It's a little bit more curvy than it was in 2000. I really like this Godzilla design. I also really like the expressive eyes, especially in X Mechagodzilla. They kind of tone it down in the next movie, but I really like the big eyes for this Godzilla. He looks really, really expressive. So that looks great. And of course, the Mechagodzilla suit looks fantastic. This is my second favorite Mechagodzilla. Even though I wish we would get a villainous Mechagodzilla again. Please. If Legendary does a Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, I so desperately hope Mechagodzilla is a villain.
We did get a villainous Mechagodzilla in Ready Player One. Technically. You're never going to watch it?
Nope.
At least watch the scene. It's on YouTube.
No.
Why not? Like,
no.
It's a cool scene. Why not?
No.
You sat down and watched
No.
You can't spare 2 minutes to watch Mechagodzilla do battle? Why not?
Because I said no. Anyway.
I refuse.
Anyway, so the special effects are great. Pro number 3 is that the music score for this movie is... No, you won't, Jack. I will not watch Ready Player One. The music score, once again, is fantastic. The woman who did Megaguirus Returns, Michiru Oshima, again, she's awesome. She is freaking awesome. A lot of the music is reused from Megaguirus. It's tweaked somewhat, but it sounds better in this movie than it did in Mechagodzilla. I love this movie's score. Mechagodzilla's theme is also pretty damn cool too. Really? Hook?
Run home, Jack. Run home, Jack.
Anyway, so yeah, the music score is pretty fucking awesome. It definitely does fit the film very well.
My Jack.
Pro number 4 is this movie's got an interesting continuity. I guess you can technically say that it is in canon with some of the Showa era because it acknowledges War of the Garcrapulas. It acknowledges
Gargantuas, you take that back, you son of a bitch.
Garcrapulas. It acknowledges.
Take it back, or I'll start singing words get stuck in my throat.
It acknowledges the original Mothra. Technically, well, that's more in the next movie, but I'll just say here. It acknowledges the original Mothra, and I guess you could say Godzilla versus Mothra too. And also technically acknowledges Space Amoeba because in the next movie. There's a lot of interesting callbacks to the Showa series that if you want to call this movie a distant sequel, you can. Well, this movie and the next movie. So it's really cool. I like this movie's continuity. It's a lot of there's a lot of interesting callbacks to the Showa series. Pro number 5, excuse me. Well, obviously, yes, it's in canon with Gojira. I don't know about Rodan. I mean, it certainly could be, but I could be wrong. But anyway, pro number 5 is Godzilla himself in this movie. I love Godzilla in this movie. As a fighter and as a badass, Godzilla is so fun to watch. He's quick to call upon the atomic breath to just blow away everything in sight. And he walks through the military attack scenes without even flinching. Like he tanks all of Mechagodzilla's missiles and he doesn't even move. But also as a physical fighter, he's really entertaining too.
Yep, I agree with that, Grimacing Gojira. It's a major pro on my part.
Hot girl in this movie, yes. Anyways, like there's one scene where Mechagodzilla is shocking Godzilla with like an electric blade, and he's quick to call upon his atomic ray, and he like drop kicks Mechagodzilla to just like get the fuck away from me. And then it's this, I don't know if it was really a humorous bit or it's unintentionally humorous, where Godzilla takes out this blade and he roars and he just like, get out of here. I love it. He tosses the blade away, just like, get this shit out of here, please. Godzilla is just awesome in this movie. He's a total lumbering tank and very entertaining to watch. And the last pro number 6 that I have for this movie is Mechagodzilla 3. I refuse to call him Kuryu, as you can obviously tell. I love this version of Mechagodzilla, and I also love this Mechagodzilla as a fighter. I already established on this earlier. This Mechagodzilla is a good balance between melee combat and ranged combat. Well, partially because this Mechagodzilla doesn't really have that many ranged weapons. It has its Maser breath and its absolute zero cannon, but that's really about it. All its other projectile weapons are add-on devices that can be like discarded at the flick of a switch. So really, all this Mechagodzilla has is its Maser breath. I also do like that this Mechagodzilla has a functional tail that it can use as a weapon. It's actually one of my favorite weapons to use when I play as Mechagodzilla 3 in Save the Earth.
Great game.
Yes. Wait, what?
I said great game.
Oh, I thought you said not a great game.
Which you originally agreed to. You're like, yeah, sure. Wait, what?
So I love Mechagodzilla in this movie. He's not my favorite. He's my second favorite. I want to, damn it, I want to get.
Second favorite.
I want to get another villainous Mechagodzilla. Damn it.
Ready for one. Ready for one. Ready for one.
Well, how is Mechagodzilla handled in this new anime movie?
He does nothing. It's just Mechagodzilla City. He doesn't even like form into Mechagodzilla or fight or anything. So all that teasing about Mechagodzilla doing something is absolutely fucking nothing. So what does that make us? Absolutely nothing.
Shut up. I hate that movie.
Oh, I fucking love Spaceballs.
Spaceballs is garbage.
No, Spaceballs is great. It's hilarious.
So that's all the pros that I have to say for Mechagodzilla 3. And all the pros that I have for Tokyo SOS are almost the same. The special effects, once again, are really good. I actually think they're a little better than they were in Mechagodzilla. The miniature sets are a lot more detailed. The CG looks a lot better, too. It's still obviously CG, but it's still pretty...
Yeah, you can tell. Like
I think it's...
Shot where they're flying through the air.
I still say it's fairly competent. So the miniature sets are well made. The Godzilla suit once again looks great. The Mechagodzilla suit looks even better in this movie than it did in the previous movie. Mothra looks fairly good. I'm still not a big fan of Mothra in this movie, but she looks good. Her wings actually do bend when they flap, so that's a big improvement over Kuchikakita.
What was that? I couldn't hear you.
I don't know. What did I say? Anyway, so special effects overall, they're really, really good. The monster fights are also really entertaining. They're a lot longer than they were in the previous movie. I mean, there's only really two, but they're both really long ones. There's Godzilla versus Mothra, and then there's Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. However, both fights, they lead into each other, and they're both fairly long. I'd say about the last 40 minutes of the movie is nothing but monster fights. So that's way up my alley. Pro number 3 is that once again, God, what the fuck was her name? Michiru Oshima returns to the. At least I think she does. Yes, she does. She returns to do the music for Tokyo SOS. And the music, once again, it's awesome. Though there's a lot of Mothra music that's brought in, so that's it's all the Kira Fukube stuff. So that's like another added bonus for this movie that makes the music score a little better. I actually do think the score in this one, huh?
I said really past 2000, the musical scores have been really strong. Like from Mechagodzilla to Final Wars, the musical scores have been pretty good.
Yeah, I'll admit. So anyway, I actually do think the score for Tokyo SOS is a little better than the score in the previous movie. Not to say that the one in X Mechagodzilla was bad. I just think it's a little better here because we have Akira Fukube music here as well. So that's an added bonus. And Mechagodzilla 3, once again, in this movie is really fucking awesome. Definitely a lot more of an aggressive fighter in this movie, which I really do like, but also Godzilla is much more aggressive in this movie too. Like he just fucking obliterates Mothra, so that goes to show how nasty he is in this movie. But Mechagodzilla 3 is still awesome. However, there's two different pros that Tokyo SOS has over X Mechagodzilla. The military action scenes in this movie are really, really entertaining in my eyes. It's really fun. It kind of has GMK syndrome where it's really fun to see Godzilla just sweep away the military defenses without even flinching. I mean, this was prevalent in X Mechagodzilla as well, but I'd say it's better in this movie. Not to say that the X Mechagodzilla's military scenes were bad. I just think they're a lot more exciting and a lot more well done here than they were in the last one. It's really, really good stuff. And the last pro that I have for Tokyo SOS is Yoshio Tsuchiya returning as Professor Chujo. Here, I've said this before. Yoshio Tsuchiya is my favorite classic Toho kaiju actor. He has a really distinctive face. He has a really distinctive voice, and he always played some of my favorite characters in Showa Toho. Oh, Hiroshi Koizumi. Excuse me. Why did I say that?
Yeah, I was like, you're saying Yoshio. I'm like,
that's the guy from King Ghidorah. My bad. Hiroshi Koizumi. Excuse me.
Thank you, Justin. You know, I'll do a round of applause for Justin for pointing out Nick Swag.
Shut up. Hiroshi Koizumi.
Justin. He's just incredible.
Okay, so then excuse me. Hiroshi Koizumi returning as Professor Chujo from the original Mothra. It's his presence that makes the original Mothra in canon with this movie, which I do like. Hiroshi Koizumi was always my favorite classic Toho actor, and I believe this was one of the last movies that he was in before he passed away. I can't remember, when did he pass away?
2015. Hiroshi.
Yeah, May 31st, 2015. He was 88 years old. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Yeah, I think.
would be my 15 or 16.
Ouch.
You mean bottom 15 or 16 or upper 15 or 16, Justin? Or be your 15 or 16 pick?
Yeah, I believe Tokyo SOS was the last movie that he was in before he passed away. It was long before he passed away, but
I hope he would have appeared in Final Wars.
well, we get Akira Takarada for that, so that's a good compensation. But anyway, fuck, what was I gonna say? So yeah, Hiroshi Koizumi in this movie, it's really nice to see him once again. When at least one last time as one really big callback to the Showa series. He's awesome. I can't say enough good things about Hiroshi Koizumi.
No, he's really good.
He's awesome in this movie. And he always really liked appearing in monster movies. So that's something that's really cool to say about him. Yoshio Tsuchiya was that way too, though, speaking of which. He stated in an interview that he was working on Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai, and he apparently was so fascinated with Godzilla that he wanted to quit Seven Samurai and appear somehow in Godzilla. And he got his wish. Both Yoshio Tsuchiya and Hiroshi Koizumi got their wish because they both appeared in Godzilla Raids Again.
I've never seen Seven Samurai. Were they in those movies?
Neither. I've never seen them. I know Yoshio Tsuchiya is in there, but I've never seen Seven Samurai. There's a lot of Akira Kurosawa movies that I wouldn't mind checking out.
I need to see some Kurosawa movies.
So, with all those good things said about these movies, are there any cons to say for these?
Against Mechagodzilla. The idea that the military just builds around the bones of Godzilla is really fucking dumb. I'm sorry, like, why? Let's just build around, like, this fragile exoskeleton. Why not just build it from scratch? Like, it just seemed like really dumb for me. I can understand taking the skeleton and studying and analyzing it, but, like, why are you, like, building a mecha machinery around it? You have to worry about all the wires. It's just, like, you know what I mean? Like, I just think it's a dumb idea to just, like, take Godzilla's bones and build a mecha suit around it. They're bones. It's dead. Just leave it alone. I guess kind of how Mafia feels. Like, I mean, I study it. I can understand that if you want to understand, like, the new Godzilla, but, like, why not just build a robot from scratch? Why do you, and, like, you can, like, build it after, you know, the original Godzilla, but, like, the idea that, like, they had to use its bones and stuff, I don't know. I just thought that was always kind of dumb. It's not a complete ending because it does set itself up for a sequel, which, you know, it's followed up on. There are some, like, slow moments in the movie that there's some boring parts in the movie that definitely drags in certain areas, like until Godzilla kind of shows up. The Godzilla suit is an improvement over the Godzilla 2000 and Godzilla, you know, Mechagodzilla one, but still, like, it's still a little bit similar for me. I'm still not a huge fan of this design of the Godzilla suit, but I can tolerate it. Unlike the 2000 and Mechagodzilla suits, which I think was pretty bad for Godzilla suits. Other cons, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Like I said, it's been a little while since I've seen it. A few pacing issues, but the action sequences are cool. A few special effects that, you know, don't hold up so well. But, you know, it's a Godzilla movie. I can handle some of them. And, yeah, I think that's it. Oh, and I don't like the idea that they have to, like, the limitations of the power of, like, Kiryu, where they have to, like, literally, like, carry him everywhere and just, like, oh, he runs out of batteries super easily. I'm just like, just you don't need to do that. I mean,
I'll admit, yeah, it's probably my only flaw with Mechagodzilla 3, but other than that, I can get past it.
Yeah, I understand. Like, Mechagodzilla 3 looks great, like, as it is. So, yeah, go ahead and say your
So my cons for X Mechagodzilla, I have 3, though 2 of them kind of go into each other. One is, I think this movie, once again, it sets the trend. This movie has a boring human cast. None of the characters stick out to me in a positive way. Yes, we have a hot chick as our lead, but she's flatter than the plateau, and she's also a ripoff of the main character from Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla.
Yeah, like, I used to confuse them at some, like...
Yeah, it doesn't help that they do look kind of similar.
Yeah, but she looks better in this one.
Well, yeah, obviously, but she's still boring. The human cast in this movie is just boring as fuck. Con number 2 is that this movie is not paced very well. It's very imbalancedly paced. The stuff with the humans drags like nobody's business. Well, at least after like the first 20 minutes or so. But after that, it drags. The stuff with the monsters is awesome, but the stuff with the humans is boring. It's made all the worse by the fact this movie doesn't have an interesting human cast. And my last con with this movie is hang on, I gotta close my window.
Bark, bark, bark. Bark, bark, bark. Bark, bark, bark.
It wasn't a dog.
What was it? It sounded like a dog.
No, it was my grandfather pounding on some shit.
I like a dog barking in my
But the last con that I have with this movie is I think it's too short. It's less than an hour and a half long. Yet it feels at times it feels like it's dragging like nobody's business, and others it flies by like crazy. So I think this movie is way too short. But sometimes I don't mind, and sometimes I do mind. Now, as for cons for Tokyo SOS. One of them is the same, one is similar, and the other is totally different. Because once again, I have 3 cons.
Okay, then I'll get into my cons after.
The cons for Tokyo SOS is that the human cast isn't boring, but they're annoying. Aside from Hiroshi Koizumi, the human cast is really annoying. Specifically, the male pilots for Kuryu, they're really, really exaggerating in their acting. It's like anime acting. It's very exaggerated. It's very grating on the nerves. The dub certainly doesn't help either. Huh?
But not as over the top as I would like.
I mean, it's not Attack on Titan live action levels of over the top acting, but it's pretty damn close. And the main mechanic character, who is the grandson of Professor Chujo, he's really, really fucking annoying. Really annoying. And his nephew is really annoying, too. We have another annoying kid character in a Godzilla movie. Thankfully, he doesn't have much screen time.
He's not as good as Ichiro. From the greatest Godzilla movie of all, Godzilla's Revenge. We made it about 48 minutes until... the annoying human cast bogs this movie down. This movie also, once again, is also imbalancedly paced. It's not as bad as the previous film, but still, the stuff with the monsters is great, and thankfully the monsters have a lot more screen time in this movie than they do in the previous film, which is kind of taken for granted because this movie's longer than the previous movie. But still, the movie is imbalancedly paced. The stuff with the humans, especially in the first act, the stuff with the humans is boring. But then in the second act, it picks up a lot more because there's a lot more monster action. Was this the one where the guy says Godzilla sucked dick, or is that in
No, that was X Mechagodzilla. In the Japanese dub, there's an infamous scene where there's this guy saying Godzilla's getting away in Japanese, but it sounds like he's saying Godzilla sucked dick. And it sounds like what do you say? Do you say Godzilla sucks dick? Godzilla sucked dick. Okay.
That's movie.
In the third con that I have for this movie is I really don't like Mothra in this film. I really wish that... No, if you wanted to have another monster, fine, but why does it have to be Mothra?
Because fuck you, that's why.
She feels completely shoehorned into this movie, even though, granted, yes, you can't have Professor Chujo without Mothra.
They could have made it the professor from Mothra vs. Godzilla.
Yeah, you could have done that too. But then again, you'd still have to have Mothra, so... It's kind of a double-edged sword. I like the presence of Professor Chujo, but I don't like the presence of Mothra. She bogs this movie down for me personally. I just feel like I feel like she's shoehorned in at the last minute. So I wish that either Mothra was left out or she was replaced by a different monster. Get an original monster for Christ's sake. Nah, that's not till the next movie. But so overall, despite these movies' flaws, I love both of these movies. They're some of my favorites of the entire Godzilla franchise. Um, Sean, you want to give your final thoughts and ratings?
I gotta give my cons for this one really quick.
Oh yeah, that's
So,
right.
cons for Tokyo SOS. The main actress is kind of shoved aside when it seemed like the last movie she was being set up to like take on Mechagodzilla 3 or Kiryu or whatever you want to call her, and it just kind of bummed me about that because I felt like they were setting something up for that and they just kind of threw it away, which understandable. They wanted to go in a different direction. The idea that Mothra is pissed off about them taking Godzilla's bones, like
Completely ludicrous.
It was ridiculous. Like, Mothra will wage war on humanity. Why the fuck does Mothra care so much? Like, there's other people take grave rob all the time, but is Mothra show up for every single one or only when it's Godzilla? Like, why does Mothra give a shit?
Who knows?
Does she do that? Like, they're taking the bones of the Gargantuas next. Oh no, is she gonna like wage war on humanity? Because this is set in canon with that one and a bunch of other Toho films. I don't know the exact continuity for every single film in this, weird setup, Tokyo SOS thing. But yeah, that was a big criticism of mine. Is it's really a lot of it has to stem from Mothra in this movie. How, I mean, like you said, she definitely feels kind of shoehorned in a bit into the plot of this, but we got the professor back, which was cool. So I guess it's like, it's either we don't have that, and then the main cast, I feel like the Millennium series really lacks some good leads.
Except Final Wars.
Except
and
Final
2000.
Wars, like, I'll agree, like, the leads in the Millennium series are really, like, not up to par. Like, I feel like the Showa series was pretty consistent with some good leads in a lot of them.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, the Heisei series was, like,
hit and miss.
You have some good ones. It was hit and miss. The Millennium series is mostly
miss
in terms of, like, the human elements to all of them. And, yeah, Mothra definitely creates problems. And just, like, also the idea, like, Mothra will help humanity and save you guys. Like, bullshit, Mothra does not stand a chance against Godzilla. But Sean, in the original Mothra vs. Godzilla, she got lucky, okay? They got lucky. Godzilla was just, like, fooled and trickery. It ain't gonna work this time. It's a much more powerful Godzilla than before. So, yeah. But then again, it's a different continuity. But, you get my point. So, yeah, the main criticism is Mothra, some of the human cast. Some effects, here and there aren't particularly great. And the idea, and the ending, too. Like, they set itself up for another sequel, which they never followed up on.
Nope.
And that was a real disappointment to me. Because, like, the same bullshit that happened, it's happened every film in the Millennium series, pretty much.
Except 2000.
2000 was just him blowing up the city, for the most part. So it didn't necessarily say, oh, hey, this is what's going to happen in the next one. Godzilla, like, against Mechagodzilla, it was that, ridiculous post-credit scene. And then, GMK is like, it's hard to probably like, oh, what's going to happen here? We're going to get an awesome trilogy, like the Gamera trilogy, where the storyline is set up over the course of 3 films. No, we're not going to have that at all. And then, finally, Godzilla against Mechagodzilla is like, oh, they're going to set something, are they going to follow up on it? Yeah, actually they do. Oh, cool, we get a direct follow-up, it's cool, we see characters come back and such, and then we get like a post-credit scene, and then nothing. You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir. And then, yeah. I'm tired of sequel baiting unless you know for sure you're getting the sequel. I fucking hate cliffhanger endings. I can't stand them. It's like when I reviewed my Halloween series, when I got to like the ending of Halloween 5, such a bullshit cliffhanger ending. So it's just like, why do we need cliffhanger endings unless you know for sure you're making a sequel? Like, absolutely.
I feel like cliffhanger endings work much better in TV, but even then they can be frustrating when a series is canceled and its last season ends on a cliffhanger, like with Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Season 5, or Ash vs. Evil Dead. Ash vs. Evil Dead is an incredible fucking show, like one of my all-time favorite TV shows. Like, everything works great in that show, and then the fucking cliffhanger ending, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's bullshit. Like, I was disappointed with the finale of season 3 because I know it's the end. And Bruce Campbell was like, yeah, I'm done. And I'm like, damn it, Bruce. Thanks for giving us 3 great seasons, but fuck. It's the same thing with this and just other things. I hate cliffhanger endings. They piss me off so much. It's frustrating when you watch stuff. So, yeah, those are my main criticisms. There's some pacing problems, too, with the human cast outside of, the professor. But I just don't really particularly care for the humans and the stuff. And the Shogun things can get kind of annoying in this one.
Yeah, that too. I probably should have mentioned that.
They work best in the Showa series. Like
Even then, they're still kind of hit and miss.
Mm-hmm. And Mothra is like, oh, like I have some criticisms with Mothra. I like what they did with Mothra and GMK, even though she was a little bit more menacing, but she was like none of the bullshit. So, but yeah, I think that's all I gotta say.
So with all that said, what do you rate these two movies?
For Godzilla movies, I'm very neck and neck. I liked Against Mechagodzilla slightly more, although like there's like one character that's better, and against like Tokyo SOS than there is in like the other two.
Mm-hmm.
Like the music's good in both of them. They're pretty much like I always like mix these movies up a bit because they're both so similar. Because I like it's weird how Mechagodzilla when he gets a movie usually gets like a second movie right away, like he did this in the Showa and then the Millennium, except in the Heisei, even though he should have been in Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. I feel like instead of Mogera, but it was cool to see Mogera get another chance. So what? But yeah, like with this one, it's just like with Terror and like the Mechagodzilla and the original Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla felt different. These two like feel the same. You know what I mean? Like these two feel like they're really like close, consistent with each other. Definitely like were they the same director?
Possibly. Ex Mechagodzilla was Masaki Tezuka, and Tokyo SOS was also Masaki Tezuka. So yeah.
Yeah. So there's a consistency, and I liked how they acknowledged certain continuity aspects from the previous film. And yeah, I think it's fun to say some of the designs, like Other's design's okay. I think it looks better in GMK. And Godzilla suit, I've gone on saying my criticism of that. The same deal. I do like how they kept in canon the gash. And another criticism I have is they tease this other monster, Kamibus, and we don't see anything. So like you're telling me that we had Godzilla and Kamibus in a movie together, and they don't even fight. You just see the after effects. I feel like that was kind of almost like a shot at like Gamera too, like as if to say, yeah, this is what would happen if Gamera fought Godzilla, which we still haven't gotten, which is bullshit. Like of all the Godzilla movies,
well, you know what? They also did. Toho was approached by Kadokawa in 2005 to make Godzilla vs. Gamera, but Final Wars flopped hard, so Toho decided, nah.
I still think Godzilla vs. Gamera would have made bank. Like,
it would have. Well, when I review Gamera the Brave, I'll give my true feelings on that.
Brave. It's too expensive. The DVD's like $50 to buy them. I'm like, I'm not gonna spend $50.
Actually, I found a copy on Amazon that's like $25.
Maybe I'll have to pick it up. But yeah, those are my cons of this movie. If I had to give a rating to these two, God, it's tough. I almost want to say like a solid, like for a Godzilla movie, like solid 7 for each one. Maybe like just a higher 7 than like for the original Godzilla against Mechagodzilla as opposed to Tokyo West. I like against Mechagodzilla better. I'll give a 7 for Godzilla against Mechagodzilla and a 6.5 for like Tokyo SOS. I think it's a fair number. It's definitely like middle of the Millennium series, better than the first two films of the Millennium series. Not as good as Final Wars or GMK for me, but they're both solid movies for Godzilla films.
For me, I give both Ex Mechagodzilla and Tokyo SOS an 8 out of 10. These are two of my favorite Godzilla movies of the entire series, and of course, I gotta be big fans of all Mechagodzilla films. Shut up! I'm not gonna watch Ready Player One. That's not a Mechagodzilla movie.
Watch the clip online then.
No.
That's like,
why
won't you watch the clip?
No.
He fights a Mobile Suit Gundam in the Iron Giant, and he's stomping on things.
N.O.
N.O. And you're like, Mechagodzilla.
N.O. No.
Why not?
Because I said no.
Are you just not want to watch it? Like, what's the big deal?
Because I said no. So yeah, 8 out of 10. I give it both to Ex Mechagodzilla and Tokyo SOS. I love these movies. These are great Godzilla movies in my eyes. It's a shame that these movies didn't do well financially, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So look forward to a little later from now, and I really need to take a break for this one. When I delve into,
I don't know if we gotta push through it. I just try to get through all.
When I talk about a really special movie to me, when I talk about,
I can't wait for Final Wars. I love Final Wars.
The big grand epic kaiju battle royale that is Godzilla versus God damn, I just ruined it.
I'll go
Godzilla,
over
Final
31.
Wars. Look forward to that one, and as always, I broke my shades.
You broke your shades?
Go out and somehow get involved with a pissed off giant butterfly that wants bones to go to the bottom of the ocean again. And I will see you guys in the next one. And yes, I broke my shades. Sue me.
No.